It's tough for buyers in this current real estate market. It's almost assumed that when a house comes up for sale, there's going to be multiple offers for that home. So how can you compete? I'm going to give you 5 tips that'll help you write a winning offer. This is Betty, Battaglia with Howard Hanna Real Estate in the Rochester, New York area. I promised you 5 tips. Let's get into it. Tip number 1, if it's at all possible for you to write a cash offer, this is the time to do it. A seller may actually accept an offer that's written for a lower dollar amount if the buyer is using all cash for their offer. Why would they do this? Well, if a buyer is getting a mortgage, it means that there will be an appraisal by their lender. And if that appraiser assigns a lower value to the home than what's been agreed upon in the contract, that means the lender will only finance up to that appraisal amount. This can potentially be an issue for the buyer if they need to fund the entire amount. So for that reason, a cash offer is very appealing to a seller. Tip number 2, write your offer as cleanly as possible. And by that I mean have as few contingencies as possible. One of those contingencies oftentimes is asking for an inspection of the home. You need to ask yourself, am I willing to take on the expense of any potential repairs that may be needed? This is a very personal decision for each buyer, and I don't advocate one way or the other, but you need to decide, am I willing to waive that in order to compete with other offers? Tip number 3, include an escalation clause with your offer. An escalation clause is an addendum that we add to your offer. And what it allows you to do is decide that although you would like to start your offer at a certain base price, that you would be willing to increase your offer if need be because of competing offers up to a certain capped price. Say you start your base price at $300,000 and you will beat any competing offer by $3,000 up to a cap of a maximum of, say, $325,000. Now, there is a way you can do this and not put a cap on the offer, and that is something that is important for your real estate agent to understand how to use this and also how it needs to be used in combination with your financing. Tip number 4, offer to pay some of the seller's closing costs. So in other words, instead of writing your offer for a higher amount, you keep your offer a little bit lower and you offer to pay some of the seller's closing costs. And this way, when the lender's appraiser comes to look at the home, it may not become quite such an issue for the home to appraise at the value that you paid for it. The con to this approach is that at closing, you will need to have additional cash to be able to pay for those closing costs to the seller. You'll have more cash out of pocket at the closing table. And tip number 5, offer the seller a non-refundable earnest money deposit. Typically, within 48 hours of having your offer accepted, you as the buyer would need to submit the earnest money amount that you have agreed to in the contract. And that earnest money deposit is held in escrow and is typically refunded to the buyer if, for some legitimate reason, the transaction does not move forward. Well, in this case, what you are telling the seller is, I have so much faith and every intention of moving forward on this transaction. Of course, the con to this is you could lose your money even if you did have a legitimate reason for backing out. And you also want to make sure that the amount of money that you are going to lose would not hinder your ability to move on to the next home and purchase another home. Click on the link below for my home buyer's guide for a lot more helpful information.